Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Passionate People and Prosperous Peeves. I'm your host, Ike. And before you get too sucked into this awesome interview, do us both a favor and like, subscribe, and share this amazing piece of entertainment because I am here with the one, the only, Joshua Gibbons.
Hello,
Hey,
thanks for having me. I bumped it a little early there, didn't I? Caught you by surprise.
God, I'm scared. I'm on my back foot. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I almost should have read the prompt also.
Yes, in fact, this is the first time, one of many, though, that I am recording live in my fabulous but tiny studio apartment here in Los Angeles. But now that you've caught me off guard, I must ask you to kind of gain some composure. Joshua, what is your favorite dad joke?
My favorite dad joke, which I looked up about 5 minutes ago.
Oh, don't be coy. We both know that you totally came up with it on your own.
I did. I 100% did. Definitely.
Invented it from scratch.
So here's my dad joke for you. I said to my girlfriend, if you continue stealing my cooking utensils, I'll move out. She just laughed and said, that's a risk I'm willing to take.
I think what sells it even more for me is it's not the whisk, it's the willing. Like that, like
The alliteration that's
that
happening.
wonky W. Joshua, what's your favorite underutilized word?
My favorite underutilized word, which I want everyone to start using much more, is tubular.
Would you kindly use it in a non-ironic sentence for us, please?
Non-ironic?
Yes.
You mean the correct definition usage?
I mean the usage that you see pertaining and hoping it to be utilized more fully as.
Okay. So I would say that a good use of that sentence would be, oh, hey, like, would you like to try this, like, new late dessert we got? Like, oh, yeah, I totally want to try it. And you take a first bite and you're like, oh, my gosh, this dessert is tubular. It is so good. It is so delicious and cylindrical. That is
like a
just,
tube.
Yeah, that is just absolutely tubular. That is my word that I want people to start using. Because whenever I say it, people just look at me like, what the hell are you talking about, tubular? And I'll take it a little extra step like further, and I'll say, oh, it's straight tubes.
Oh, good Lord.
And they cringe, and I'm just like, hey, that's fine.
So, were you a big fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles growing up? Did you ever surf? Where did the term tubular kind of like embed itself in your brain bank?
I absolutely hate both of those things you just mentioned, but
Really?
I don't absolutely hate either of those.
It's gonna blow my socks off. The first person I ever heard.
I'm trying to be conflicting. No, I didn't watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I do love pizza and Italian art people. And then I never surfed because I'm not big on water. But I was a skater.
Are you big on land?
I'm big on land, especially dirt. Let me tell you, I love dirt and different soils. All right. But
ladies and folks, I'm here with him in studio. I can confirm that he is in fact big on land.
Big on land, dude. Big on land. But no, I used to skate when I was younger, so a lot of skater lingo, and then I also mountain bike ride. So like I used to race when I was younger, and in like both of those communities, there's a lot of lingo that happens to where like you just start to pick up on things that no one else says, but you still say it. Like I remember I would say something like nar.
As opposed to gnarly.
As opposed to gnarly, yeah. Because like something could be gnarly, but like if it's nar, that's an extra step up. That's a high notch.
There's two
right
of
there.
them that are half the word.
Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of where like that sort of came from. And one of my like spirit animals is there's this old interview from like 2002 of this surfer dude talking about the waves. I don't know if you've seen it or something, but I'll have to send it to you. But one of the quotes that he says is like, oh, and you just like, you hit the barrel and you just like, whoop-ah, whoop-ah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah. So I think that guy's hilarious and I think it's so funny. But yeah, so tubular is the word that I thought up of for this.
That's awesome. What would you say your biggest everyday temptation is?
To do nothing.
Procrastination.
Yeah. Now I wish I could have like lazy days.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, that'd be so nice to have a day to just do absolutely nothing. But usually, like, I work like Monday through Saturday, and I usually have like to do something.
Yeah.
But I wish I could just be like, nah.
Do you ever kick off and do nah? Or is it always like are you able to avoid that temptation pretty regularly?
I'm able to avoid it and get like my things done. But on like, say I do have like a day free where like I have like some errands I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not super pressing, it gets real hard to like fight that temptation. I'm like, you know what, dude, I don't have to go to the laundromat, or like, you know, I got some extra clothes, or like, I don't want to go grocery shopping. So yeah,
Awesome.
that's my daily like.
Yeah. What movie will you never skip when channel surfing? Or I guess more aptly to these days, cycling through Netflix or whichever online platform you prefer.
That's a great question. I haven't been on many streaming services lately, but I feel like there's probably some comedy movie. I know one that I'll skip every time. Like I said, I'm bringing conflict into this podcast. I'm just peeving it up. I don't know if I used that word correctly, but yeah, for this time in.
My name isn't Merriam-Webster. I think you're safe here.
Okay, cool. A movie that I will never skip. Let's see. Probably.
I feel like it's something by Denis Villeneuve.
Oh, dude.
I said the name of his senpai. He must defend his master.
He's whispered those words into my ears. Honestly, yeah, dude. If Denis Villeneuve's on or like Roger Deakins is on, like, oh, you know what? Actually, it's not a good movie, but whenever I like see it, I just want to watch it because I think it's visually just beautiful and stunning. And that is The Neon Demon by Nicholas Winding Refn.
Trying to remember which one that was. Who's that starring? It's
got Dakota Fanning. Keanu Reeves is in it for like 2 minutes.
Oh, I didn't realize that
Christina Hendricks is in it for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was that Winding Refn was at the helm of that.
Yeah. Because is it a good movie? I'd say no. But it's an interesting movie, and it's just a beautifully, stunningly shot. Like every shot is just pretty.
Yeah.
Where like I could put it on mute, and I'm just like having fun. That's one that I want.
It's a great moving landscape of a poster to have in the background in a party.
Yes, yeah. Like if I'm like not even paying attention to my TV and I like want something pretty to be on, that would be a good one for me.
Perfect screensaver.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a 2-hour screensaver.
Yeah.
All right. So growing up, what was your favorite book?
I know that one that I liked to read a lot when I was younger was. Are you talking like children's book or like when you're like in elementary school?
Just one that really stands out when you were growing up and learning to read, or that kind of, makes you always remember reading. And like for me, for instance, it was The Hobbit. That was like one of the first books I really remember reading, kind of getting engrossed by. And that didn't feel like it was pandering to me, because growing up and reading books, even though they were good, like I enjoyed C.S. Lewis and some of his early stuff, it always felt like very PG. There was some dark moments, but by and large, I think that one's kind of a kind of middling for me. But there was books that I remember reading growing up that it was like, yeah, I remember having read them. And if you showed me the book and I read a couple pages, like, oh, I think I know this. But those don't define me and help remind me of like why I got into reading or what I remember reading or enjoying growing up. So if there's a book that really stood out to you in your kind of formative years reading,
I've got two for you.
Okay, hit me.
So, the first one is going to be when I was really, really young. And I feel like they kind of relate to like, this one relates to like, just like my mom, like reading me stories. Because my mom would read me a lot of different stories. But it was like the Three Little Pigs, but from is it a wolf or it's wolf. A wolf? Yeah. It's from the wolf's perspective.
The big bad wolf's perspective?
Yeah, the big bad wolf who all he wanted was sugar.
Yeah, he just wants sugar.
Yeah, he's sugar.
No, I've read this book. It's great.
It's a great children's book because
Yeah.
What it does is it changes your perspective.
Yeah,
and helps you realize that what you see from one angle, you want to see from another angle too, to learn the full story. about how those 3 pigs were the real assholes in this story.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
Yeah.
But
no, it helps, you know, especially, you know, for a child, it helps them understand the idea of perspective. Because
Yes.
before then, it's always like the hero's the good guy, the hero's always right, and what he sees is the truth.
yeah, it goes into that area of everything's not black and white, everything's just morally gray.
Yeah.
You know, is there a right and wrong? Like, yes, no, maybe so. It all depends on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's definitely one of like my formative books. Another one, which I read in 5th grade, was The Outsiders.
Oh, yeah.
By S.E. Hinton. I remember my professor, Miss McIndoe.
Stay gold, pony boy.
You stay golden, dude. She had us read that book, and a couple of my friends were so into that book that for Halloween that year, we all dressed up as greasers.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we were all dressed up as greasers at the school.
Dressing up like a street gang. In
Yeah,
school.
yeah,
Isn't that
exactly.
cute?
Yeah, so I see that those 2 are books that definitely, you know, I related to a lot and like could like get a lot from.
Mm-hmm. Totally. That's so dope. Now I'm going to put you to the test here. This is a bit of a hard one, so take a moment and think about it if you must. But if you had to evacuate your house, let's say there's a fire, an earthquake, whatever, you know, horrific event. If you had to evacuate your house, what's the first non-living thing you'd grab and rescue to safety?
And I can only choose one.
You could only choose one.
That's really difficult. Well,
maybe you don't have so many nice things. Maybe share with some with your friends who hold podcasts.
I think it's more that like, because I don't keep a lot of sentimental things, and that I kind of try to keep sentimental things more in my heart rather than as a physical item, because those things can get broken or lost and stuff like that, and like losing those can be pretty difficult for people. So I don't really have much sentimental items. I just have like, you know, my like phone and computer kind of situation to where like I don't have like a specific like one thing that I would grab necessarily.
What about your sweet bicycle?
Oh, it's not my dad's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be one. Probably my camera, maybe my camera and computer. But I mean, that's more just like a money realistic issue, just like what's easy to grab, I guess.
Hey, man, this is your nightmare that we're talking
This
about.
is a nightmare, especially. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, because like I said, I don't really keep a lot of sentimental items.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tough one to answer. Yeah.
That's what we do on the show. We bring the hard-hitting questions to you.
So hard.
So hard. Do me a favor. Clear your mind. Now, what's the first thing that you envision when I say the word underrated?
Underwear. You said to clear my mind. I gave you the exact answer that came to my mind.
Why for you is underwear underrated?
Simply just because the word was very similar. I just answered very fast.
All right. Reclutter your mind. What comes to mind when I say what comes to mind when I say underrated?
I think my mind's been too cleared.
It's been scrubbed back to the basics.
It's been scrubbed. I'm just a smooth brain. No, underrated. In my head, I start thinking of like video games for some reason, but a lot of the video games are already highly rated.
I mean, they're highly rated by the people that play them, but there is like still whole sects of our society that don't, see and appreciate them. So, I mean, that's probably fair.
True. I'll just throw out Bloodborne for you.
All right.
Because, one, it's only on PlayStation, so it's kind of exclusive, which sucks for a lot of people. Because, like, a lot of people physically can't play it.
Yeah.
It's also very difficult, which turns a lot of people off. It's not underrated at all. I think it's just more unknown to a lot of people in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting how still in this day and age, there's still so many, there's some people that haven't played video games or like that see them, I don't want to say as like the devil or anything like that, but they definitely like don't appreciate, respect, and see them as like an art form or a reasonable thing that like people do with their time. But also there's so many companies that are like kind of, I mean, I understand that companies survive off of, it is a business. So there is that aspect to it, but at the same time, it is like, let everybody be able to play the game, man. Some people don't have your system and can't afford it, or they don't like it, or whatever. It's like, no, it only has to be on the PS5, or it only can be on the Nintendo Switch. It's like, just let.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, because exclusivity just kind of sucks for the people that don't have access to it. Because like, it's expensive to have all the different programs or operating systems and like consoles to be able to access certain games and franchises.
It is. It is kind of nice though that in the last, I mean, like, do you remember growing up? It felt like there was a new system every couple of years.
Yeah.
And it feels like there aren't nearly that many these days. They come out with new ones, but it's like every 5.
Yeah, like
sometimes I feel like one of them was like 10 years, and it just didn't even seem to recognize that it'd been that long.
Yeah, it's more like generational.
Yeah,
to where it's like you have to buy it for the next generation, and you're good for like 7 years.
Yeah,
until the next generation comes out.
And there's a couple, like, PlayStation has allowed backplay, right? Where it's just like if you have the 4, you can't play the PS5 games on the 4, but you can play the PS4 games on the 5, right?
Yes, you can do it with Bloodborne. That was the first game I put into my PS5 when I got it.
The one that I've had for years.
Yeah, I bought a brand new system, and the first thing I did was, this is so dope. I'm going to play a game from 2015. I guess kind of going back to what you were saying earlier, though, about underrated, and you made up a good point of how some people don't really look at video games as like a form of medium for storytelling, but to me, I think it's one of the most immersive mediums that there is currently, to where like you can play. That's why there's been no good video game movies. Yeah. Is because
one of the reasons.
One of the reasons, yes.
There's plenty of others.
Is that there's a lot of you're the one physically doing this story and being a part of it and learning and exploring, where like that takes hours.
Yeah.
Like a good game takes like 15 plus hours, and you can only really get that sort of tactile feel with a video game, I feel.
That was one of my brother's favorite or biggest problems with Borderlands 3 is that your character doesn't do anything important. All of the story beats happen because of another character. You don't ever impact or do anything relevant. And if you want to check out more about that, check out my other podcast, Super Pros Bros, coming out every month, or the first and third Saturday of every month. Sick plug.
Man, you're plugging in on my podcast appearance. Wow.
Yeah, you're welcome. Is there a piece of advice you've been told over the years that has made the biggest impact, or that you find yourself pondering on even to this day?
Like that someone else told me?
Yeah, that someone else told you, or that you read, or just kind of like picked up from something.
I think for me, one of the things that's helpful is that I've just slowly, through talking to people and like learning about things, realized that a lot of people don't actually care at all about what you do or what you make, and I actually kind of like that, because to me that is kind of freeing. And then like my own like personal stuff that I create, whether it's like,
oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, to where it's like either it's like an artwork or like photography or like some Photoshop things or like I don't know, even music, which like I'm not good at, but I just have fun making it anyways. Is that realizing to myself that people don't actually care, and like say they're on my phone, they're on their phone, they're on Instagram, they scroll, they see my post, they just go, oh, okay, they like it, they swipe, it's already forgotten. They don't really care, but maybe 5 or 10 people care. And they see it and they're like, oh, this is really cool. This is really interesting. Like I just, I did a Photoshop the other day, and one of my friends that I also follow, and he follows me, he posted another thing later, which like took like inspiration from mine, and like he did a really, really good job with it. And I was like, this is cool. He really liked that.
That's
and, like,
so awesome. Yeah,
you
could see his appreciation in his creation.
Yes. Yeah, and I could see how like he took what I did and like added his own little twist onto it, And so I think that realizing that like just a lot of people don't care for me is very freeing.
Yeah, so this notion is something that I'm becoming more and more familiar with as time goes on. I talk to more people on this podcast, and talk to a therapist more and more. It's a kind of it's a fascinating philosophical kind of jumping off point as like an artist, and that is like by accepting that no one's ever going to see your work or do anything with it, because the reality is with all the things that are being created, the likelihood that you're going to make it or that people are going to see your stuff or appreciate your stuff it's not zero, but it's pretty close. It's very unlikely that the likelihood that I'm gonna make it as a writer or a director, that Joshua here is going to make it as a director of photography, it's pretty low. But if you're doing, this is like one of the reasons, this is kind of like behind the idea behind that, the Charles Bukowski quote of, don't try, which is on his gravestone. Meaning, what he meant by that wasn't that, or what people believe, I guess nobody's alive to really, or nobody got to ask him before he died, as far as I know. The idea that people have kind of found in that wasn't that you shouldn't do something, it's that you shouldn't try to do something, it's that you should do something. It's kind of like that. I think there's somebody else that said it, but Bo Burnham was talking about, at one point, he's talking about giving up on your dreams. And that the reason he said that, or the reason that he picked that up to say that to somebody, I remember hearing it through his mouth in some interview or something like that, was because the people that are going to follow their dreams don't need the handout of acceptance from an official source. They don't need the, celebrity that governs their life because they look up to them and have placed them on a pedestal to say, yes, you can do this. The people that are going to truly make it and should throw their life at this endeavor, even though they're very likely to fail, are the people that were destined from birth, or not necessarily from birth, but they just love it so much, and it just is so soul consuming that if they gave up doing it, it would destroy them more than if they attempted it and failed. And so very much in line with that, it's just like, yeah, nobody's going to see that. It's like, and knowing that if that bothers you, that's good. And you know that about yourself, and you can either do it in a lot less smaller amounts where, it's, people not seeing it isn't going to affect you, and you can let it bring you down, move along, and come back to it when you're ready to, experience that, moment again. But if it's something like the amount of views that I get on this podcast are, I can count them on hands. They're very low. And I'm fine with that because I love talking to people that are very passionate, like yourself, Joshua, and like everybody that's come before and everybody that come after. This podcast is never going to do well. The name alone, it's 1 million syllables, 4 Ps. It is ridiculous. This is never going to get, picked up or monetized or anything like that.
Alliteration, though.
It's got so much alliteration. 5 Ps, you can't beat it. But it doesn't matter because I love talking to people that are passionate, that, have the time, and I love giving people the opportunity to listen to this. So if you're listening to this, I'm not shouting down at you that you're silly for listening to us. I very much do appreciate it. I'm glad you've spent your time with us. And thank you for, like kind of peering in on my dream. But I'm doing this even if I'm shouting into the void. So if you're doing this to, this kid needs somebody to listen to his podcast, you can turn this off. I really want you to enjoy this. And if that's why you're here, digital 5. But
I can give you a physical high five.
We'll end the show with a physical high five. But that is so beautiful, the idea of, failure isn't guaranteed. One of the other things that I don't remember if it was my brother, shout out to Super Prosperous, or if it was just
nice
got
plug.
Joshua to laugh off mic.
Or I was laughing at a good plug.
Or if it was my therapist or somebody, but was talking about when writing, and this is one of the hardest things for me to do, is to get back into writing, because I fell off the horse this last year, and getting back and like getting myself in the moment is so hard. But one of the things that I found freeing is to, beginning a writing session, is to write 1 page of just complete gobbledygook. Open this one doc that I've got. It's like Shit Brown and Fanny Dork, and they're just on a mission to go peeing on a tree or something like that. It's nonsense gobbledygook. I'm basically just going pure, stupid, potentially filthy, potentially irreverent, but mostly nonsensical gibberish. I fill a page with it. And once I fill that page, I cannot possibly write a page worse than that. And knowing that allows me to go to like the real document and start writing, knowing that I've already failed worse. And every time I'm doing it, and just be like, oh, that's done. You know, that failure is done. That's out of the way. I can't do any worse than that. It's just a free roll at that point. And it allows you to just, you know, unencumbered, do whatever you want without any personal judgment.
No, I love that. You bring up a lot of really great points. To where it's like, I feel like a lot of the fun is the process.
Yeah.
You know, even if the end result isn't exactly what you want, like I don't tend to like most of the stuff I make after like a week after I like post it or like finish it or whatever. I'm always like, I could have changed this. I could have done this better. This could be written differently. But the process of making it is what's really fun, and trying to finally have that moment where you can just say like, it's done, because nothing ever feels done. Nothing
it's like they told us that we so for the listeners that don't know how Josh and I met, we both our origin story.
Yeah.
We were roommates at California State University in Monterey Bay. Go Otters. You graduated in the beginning of
spring 2020. Also, when you said Go Otters, I wanted to think of like what noise an otter make to try and like add that in, and I actually
slap
do
a
not
rock
know.
around your chest.
I don't know what that noise is, but you're getting it.
Oh, good God. But yeah, we were roommates for a year and a half, something like that, I think. And we both went to the film program there. And one of the best lessons that was taught to us there is that a project isn't ever done, it is due. So it allows you to take away this idea of perfection, because you can never get it perfect. There's not enough time for that to be achievable. And so all you can do is do as good as you can up until the deadline, which is really good. If you have like a personal project, is to set a deadline and meet it so that you can be done, because otherwise you're going to obsess and refocus and try to get it perfect. And that just doesn't exist. One of the other interesting things that you're bringing up of the idea of like enjoying the process very much comes down to this stupid old idiom, which is it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Fucking hate it. It's a stupid idiom.
Yeah, like you really think I want to drive 18 hours to get to this place, dude? Like, come on, I'd rather like time warp.
That being said, it is absolutely true. The most important part, you have to enjoy doing the thing, not like it has to all be about the process. It has to all be about the journey. It has to be all about doing the work and not about the final project. You cannot look at you're never going to look at something you've done and think, nailed it, perfect, do it. And if you do, most of the time you're going to be missing all the flaws, and that's just not a healthy way to do it. And you're also going to just like be kind of one of those guys that's, you know, touting yourselves and calling yourself an alpha or some bullshit.
We don't like those egotistical guys.
No.
Yeah.
Us Sigma bros.
Sigma bros. I don't even know what all these different things mean. I just know
I hate them. That's
Twitter
all.
Or something, dude. Yeah.
That's all I know is I hate them. Fill in the blank for me. This weekend was so great. I spent 13 hours
sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you slept 13 hours and you woke up, you wouldn't be like, "Oh fuck." You'd be like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, if I had okay, that was a little orgasmic sounding. But if I have a weekend where like I'm able to get 13 hours in, dude, I would love to do that. That'd be marvelous to me. Get 13 hours of sleep.
Well, thank you for coming up here and recording this podcast instead of sleeping all day.
I could have been sleeping today, dude. I'm over here being prosperous. I guess another, like, I'd also just, like, if I can get a 13-hour, like, gaming session in or something, that'd be cool, you know?
13 hours dying in Dark Souls?
Yeah, exactly, dude. Hey, I'm waiting for Elden Ring to drop, all right? When that does, you don't even text me. I'm going to be busy. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'd say, yeah, if I can get like a 13-hour stretch of like sleeping or just doing my own thing and just having fun, just being like, just doing my own thing, like either playing a video game or like, I don't know. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. I'm so elegant in my answers.
Can you think of the first or most impactful memory of when you realized you weren't so alone in your struggle, or when you were like everybody else more than you realized?
I don't know. It's hard to try to think of a formative moment when I had like a thought of like that, you know? Um, hmm.
Like, for instance,
do you have
I
an
don't
example
know.
for
Would
me?
an example help?
Yes, it would.
So
Very.
one of the things that I remember that really helped me feel less kind of alone and weird was I was speaking to a therapist, highly recommend.
It's
And
dope.
yeah, mental health, get on it. And I brought up some weird things that I was thinking about, and they were like, yeah, that's normal. Thinking that stuff isn't weird. That's just a human, activity. Is just having bizarre thoughts pop into your brain that you weren't expecting and that you don't necessarily wholeheartedly agree with, but, just come into your mind. That's just part of the human existence. And you don't need to feel bad about that. Following through on those ideas, yeah, that would make you a bad person, and you would and should feel bad about that. But having those thoughts and being like, that's weird, why am I weird, is completely normal, and you shouldn't beat yourself up about that. And it was like, at that moment, I was like, oh, it took such a big weight off my chest, a big weight off my shoulders, that monkey in my mind of like, I'm a crazy guy, nobody come near me, I might do something nuts. It's like, no, that's just the way human brains work.
Yeah, and I think like relating to that, I guess sort of a way I can answer this question is once I realized like, oh, every person has anxiety and depression, just varying levels. And I think that was one of the things that kind of like helped me decide to go to therapy, for example. Because I had never gone, and I just like would feel like anxious in certain situations, or
Totally.
like start to be depressed about like at certain times or like days and stuff like that, and like I even had like a relationship with a person who was like heavily depressed and like heavily anxious. To where like I learned a lot from that person, but didn't realize that could also relate to me and like how I have those like feelings too in certain ways, in different levels of like anxiety in like certain situations compared to others, where like I'm very like I'm introverted, but also extroverted. In a weird way.
Not everybody is a single color. Most people are their own mosaic.
Yeah.
And
morally
so, like,
gray is coming back. We're going full circle.
well, it's not only that. It's like, we think of ourselves as being X, and the truth of it is we are more, we are a Picasso painting. We are, a sentence. We are not a single letter. We are not a single color. There's so much about us that is, diverse and that is complex, and so to minimize yourself to being such a thing, you are doing yourself damage, and you're going to overcorrect or overstep, and there's going to be oversight in areas where if you had realized how vast and different each human being is when examining yourself, you wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, and it's like I know a lot of people like to kind of categorize themselves in certain ways. For example, we were talking about this earlier, but star signs.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not trying to roast
Scorpio.
Yeah, I'm not trying to roast anybody. I'm a Libra. I don't take that however you will. I do not care.
Classic Libra.
Classic Libra, dude. I don't know. That's water sign or something. I don't like water, so what does that mean? Anyways, yeah, it's like every person is their own thing, but also every person is constantly changing. Me compared to who I was, 3-5 years ago is very different.
Yeah.
I react to situations differently. I talk to new people differently. I order food at a restaurant differently. All these different things are constantly changing with people. To where like all the good points that you're bringing up, like you're not a set item,
Yep.
you know, or a set personality. You're constantly evolving, constantly changing and growing in different ways, whether you're growing in a good way, growing in a bad way. That's just how people change over time.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. It's such a beautiful thing to realize that even if we feel like our life isn't moving anywhere, we are moving everywhere. And like a kind of spiritual and, you know, big brain sort of way. But
that was hard, dude. That was hard. Quote that.
Is there a moment that you look back on in your life that fills your chest with pride or brings a tear of joy to your eye?
Yes.
Would you be so kind to share it with the class?
Yes. I look back on making my college thesis film and the process and the like sort of community that was involved in it. I look back on that very happily and pridefully. When I would look back on the finished project, I think it's good, but I see the flaws. I see the things that I would want to change now, you know, all that stuff and yada, 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 like we had mentioned before. But I look back on the whole process of like what me and my collaborator and all of like the crew and like the editing team that we had, like how we all like worked together to like make this product and also the environment that we kind of created. I look back on that very happily, you know, like even looking back on like other student films that were taking place like in my same class and like how they may have gone negative or like people like stopped being friends because of something that happened in it. And I look back on mine just like very happy and like very prideful of it, you know, and just like the experience and like the fun that I had making it with the people and all that stuff. So I think that would be an example of that.
That's so beautiful, man.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna circle back around. What is your favorite industry secret or term that's only used in your line of work?
I guess one little small one is that so right now I do real estate photography during the weekdays.
Okay.
And for some reason, the people that I work with, they always say like, all right, we'll do this and then we'll call it macaroni. And I point at whatever the object is and I say, macaroni. I think it's stupid, but I don't know why I just do it.
So instead of calling it a day, they call it macaroni. Yeah. Is that basically what it is?
Or it's like, okay, we set up the shot and like, we do this and like, all right, let's just tweak this one light, turn it to the right a little bit, lower it down 3 stops, and call it macaroni. I point and I say macaroni. It's silly, but yeah.
It's basically your dad joke and is like a
2 in 1.
All right, given the opportunity, what is your favorite personal anecdote to tell?
That's a great question, Ike. This is a hard one for me, man. I don't know. I don't think of anecdotes ever. Just live.
You know of a story that you've enjoyed telling family over the last couple of years when you got to like meet up for a birthday or a party and somebody was like, oh, like what's been going on in your life? There wasn't one that was like, oh, I've got a banger.
I got stories. I don't know if you can learn anything from them, but I got them.
But who said anything about learning? This is a podcast.
Well,
this is
like an anecdote. I'm like, and the lesson you could take from this is,
oh, fuck that. There's no morals in this bitch.
Yeah, screw your morals, damn it. I know I have stories. I swear.
Folks, he's got stories for days.
Stories
he
for
promises.
Days. It's a process, though, of how to get them from my mind. It's funny. I feel like when I tell stories, they usually come from, like, a conversation to where, like, it'll lead me into, like, a tangent, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, here's a good story, actually. It's more of it's a formative story about me and my father. No, actually, should I say that one or should I'll give you 2 stories. All right, well, I may just do one story.
No, feel free to do them both. I mean, like,
Richard, you can cut one out.
Digital space costs nothing, but to go from 0 to 2.
That fast. Well, because like I said, when I think of one, it sparks another memory, you know?
All right. Hit me.
Yeah, Richard, you choose. Or both. So I'm a mountain biker. My dad's a mountain biker, and my brother's a mountain biker. We all mountain bike, and we love it. Started when we were really little, and we still do it to this day. And I was probably about 8 years old, maybe 6. Who cares? Doesn't matter. And me and my dad were mountain biking in Big Bear. Big Bear Mountain is an area in Southern California where there's mountain bike trails and a ski resort. But during the summer, it turns into a mountain bike park. And so we were riding the trail that we've ridden quite a lot. And my dad was in front of me. And what he would do is he would ride for a bit at his speed, stop at like almost like a checkpoint, wait for me to make sure I was okay and fine. And then we'd keep going because I was way slower than him. And so he had gone through the trail and everything, and he was at his checkpoint. So I'm riding through, and I go around a corner, and I go around another blind corner, and there is this, to me, 10-foot long snake stretch all across the trail, and I have no time to stop, and I ride right over it. Ka-dunk, ka-dunk. I look back, and the snake is already coiled up, ready to pounce. And I'm just staring at the snake. And it was like a black and yellow snake, like the Wiz Khalifa song. And I'm just like terrified. And I hate snakes. Well, I'm starting to change a little bit. But I look at it and I'm just like scream and I start pedaling my ass off. I'm pedaling so hard. And I get to this section where it's a steep turn down and there's roots and rocks that I would always walk because I didn't feel like I had the skill or the confidence to really complete it. But because I had the power of fear, I railed that section. I cleaned it, and my dad saw the whole thing. And then directly after it is a jump that I had never done before, and I jumped the whole jump. And my dad's sitting there, and he's just so stoked, clapping, like, "Oh my gosh, that's so great! You finally conquered that section of the trail." And then he's like, "Why are you crying?" As I just have tears flowing from my face. And I was like, "There was the snake." And then he's just like, "Oh my gosh, like it's okay. And then later in the day, he jokes at me. He tells me, "Hey, I think I may just start keeping a snake in my back pocket to like make you go faster, you know?" So yeah, I think that's a little anecdote you can take from like use your confidence. You can get that section. You know, it may look daunting, but if you believe in yourself and you have the power of fear, you can conquer it.
And that, folks, is the first episode of the Joshua Gibbons After School Special. Biking and how to take life lessons from it.
Yeah. There's a lot of life lessons from mountain biking. I mean, just sports in general, you can take a lot of life lessons from.
What's your favorite little-known factoid?
How to properly pronounce Gouda cheese. This involves a story also.
All right. As long as the story ends with you not pronouncing it like Gouda.
Gouda is the wrong pronunciation, by the way.
Okay, the story. Inform the people.
Okay, I will inform the people of a very pretentious person I met one time. So, I was at a cheese shop with a friend. This cheese shop was located in Carmel. It's very delicious. I don't remember the name of it. The name may simply just be the cheese shop. I'm not too sure. I just know it's in Carmel. And we had gone there, and what they do is, the way they have it set up is that it's like almost like a bar setup where you can go in and you can taste test all of the cheeses they have there. And they're all like really high quality, and sort of more expensive cheeses. And we go there, and we get this one guy that has an LA Dodgers hat on. And he is very like hipster looking and sounds pretentious just immediately, but we're like, okay, whatever, you know, it's a cheese shop, that's fine, I don't care, like, do your thing. And we're trying a couple different cheeses, and we're like, oh, can we try this one, this brie, this, I don't know, goat cheese? And then eventually, the person I was with, they asked, oh, and can you try that Gouda? Like the smoked Gouda? And the guy looks at us, he goes, it's pronounced Gouda. And then he turns around and walks to grab it. And I just look at that, let's leave the person I'm there with, and I'm just like, what the hell did this guy just say? Gouda? What? And then so we're just like, oh, okay, whatever. And then he gives it to us, and we're like, okay, yeah, this is really good Gouda. And he's like, Gouda. And we're just like, how do you pronounce it? Gouda. I was like, Gouda. He's like, okay. So I'm like, okay, yeah, Gouda. Okay. And so now, whenever I see Gouda, in my head, I think howda, but I don't say howda because I don't want to feel pretentious. And like that like douchebag that's just like, it's pronounced howda because like he put a sour ass taste in my mouth enough to where the next time I went to that cheese shop, because it's a very good cheese shop and they have very good cheeses, and he was the available person, I waited. And I was like, you can go before me. I literally was like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to like get cheese from this dude. Like, I want a way more chill, relaxed person that's like, it's like fun to talk to.
You want a Gouda person to take care of
Gouda
your
person
cheese order?
Yeah. So, little known fact is that the correct pronunciation of Gouda is howda.
That's right up there with me learning how to pronounce Van Gogh.
How do you pronounce Van Gogh?
It's Van Gogh.
Van Gogh?
Van Gogh.
Van Gogh.
That means like Dutch or whatever, so it's fucking impossible. But yeah, it's just like, I'm never going to call Van Gogh Van Gogh.
Yeah, because you don't want to be that
right
person.
Or wrong it is. It's just better.
Yeah. Like, even if it's like correct, it's like, you don't want to be that person.
Yeah, you don't want to be that guy. Especially, it's like the Frankenstein's monster versus Frankenstein. I think it's like, yeah, we know what you mean. Parlance of English language has been achieved.
Yeah.
Don't be a douchebag.
Yeah.
Like live and let live of grammatical accuracy sort of dealios.
Yeah.
All right. And lastly, before we throw it to a commercial break, if you could have listeners of this podcast, your one song of your choosing, which would it be?
That song is going to be Reborn by Kids See Ghosts.
Sweet.
Do you want me to elaborate on it, or?
I mean, if you want to elaborate, go for it.
It's just a really good song. It's got a good message. The whole album is pretty good. It's very much of a, like, not necessarily a self-help album, but more of like a, try to understand yourself and learn more about yourself and like kind of be happy with yourself, Yeah. And I feel like that song Reborn is a very good, it's like 6 minutes or something, but it's very good.
Sweet. All right. And with that, we're going to throw it to our first break. Feel free to stick around and enjoy the totally real commercial, or take a minute to enjoy Reborn by Kids See Ghosts. Or, if you wanted to hear a song from a previous episode, check out the playlist on Spotify, Passionate People and Prosperous Peace Podcast Song Recs. Long title, I know. Don't worry, there's a link in the description. Either way, see you in a jiffy. Do you ever find yourself sitting around with an emptiness inside your soul or larger than preferred vacuous space? Would you like to change that? I thought so. Now introducing Stuff. For when you have nothing to do but important things. Stuff. For when you're lacking personality and intrigue. Stuff. When the world has taken a pickaxe-sized chunk out of your heart. Stuff. And if Stuff no longer fulfills these needs, please don't hesitate to look into our life-enhancing product, Addiction. And we are back. Joshua Gibbons, what is your passion?
Making art that I like.
Perhaps with a camera?
Yeah, it usually always relates around the camera, like composition kind of thing. So I do really like making pretty images, whether it be like video film or like photography. It's just fun to try to capture something, whether it's like, oh, the light looks really good right here, like kind of shape the light in a way that you want it to. Play with shadows and stuff like that, and like color. I think that's something that I am passionate about.
And when did you first like get into this? Was did your parents have you in a room with like a little play camera, or did you steal dad's away while they were, outside mowing the lawn and just got to, snapping pictures? What was it that inspired Jay Gibbs to, start clicking the old shutter button?
I'd say there's the earliest memory of realizing that I like visuals and stuff like that was actually Lord of the Rings. Because when I was a young lad, my mother took me to the movie theaters to see Lord of the Rings as a wee child. And watching that made me realize, like, oh, wow, these are like epic and like amazing. And then I sort of fell off a little bit. And then when I was in community college, shout out to Fullerton College. It's really great. Cheap prices. So good. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life in terms of like career-wise or like what direction I wanted to go to. And so I just took a bunch of different classes. I took architecture, I took game design, and I took a media aesthetics class, and that's the one that I was really interested in. As like, why do they choose the different choices of like setting, colors, motifs?
I feel like that's only a class that you could be taking in the LA basin. Media aesthetic, like outside of like New York, like Manhattan, like what other place on planet Earth they can have media aesthetics in a community college?
And we were just roasting pretentious people like 5 minutes ago. I'm out here taking a media aesthetics class. But that was one that really like piqued my interest, and I took another like film history class after that. And then also during that time, I bought a camera, which was just like a Sony A6000 small mirrorless camera. And I just had a lot of fun playing with it, learning composition. I never took a photography class or like learned from a photographer. I just looked at what I liked and learned different techniques just through playing with my camera.
I mean, not to deviate too much from your passion or anything like that, but that is like one of the kind of, I feel like we heard this in film school, was very much, it's all about all the filmmakers out there. Nobody's making a film, or none of the ones that are making films, especially early on, are making films that they don't like. Everybody's first film, and just films in general, are always movies that they enjoy. And so much of making art and doing passion is creating what you enjoy, because that way, if nobody else likes it, fuck them, because you like it and you made it, and what up? Like it does.
Exactly. Like we had mentioned earlier in the podcast. I'm not making it for other people. I'm kind of making it for me in a way.
Yeah.
And hopefully other people enjoy it. And like that's really cool. I really like when people enjoy like what I make, and I think that's awesome. Like if they can take inspiration from it or they just enjoy it. But yeah, it's like I make it because like I want to make what I want to make. I want to have fun. I want to be creative, and yeah, so yeah,
that's so awesome, man. Yeah, Lord of the Rings. The first Lord of the Rings Fellowship is just like, I don't want to say it's every frame of painting, but damn, it's close.
It's
like
so good.
New Zealand is so beautiful, and like it's just like so many of those landscapes, and like,
and it still holds up. It still looks so good for being like early 2000s. I think literally like 2000 actually. I think
the first it was that sounds right. Anyway,
it's almost 20 years.
Yeah,
it's 20 years and it still looks amazing.
Yeah, still bangers.
Yeah.
So, your parents didn't ever buy you a camera or anything like that? You just kind of went out, found your own?
Yeah. My dad did buy he had like a little point and shoot camera that was waterproof. That's not really a thing you need to know, but it wasn't necessarily a good camera, but it was good for the purpose.
Most cameras that sell themselves as waterproof, I'm pretty sure aren't.
Yeah. Actually, you just sparked another thing for me. So he had this, little point and shoot, and with mountain biking, this comes right back into it. We would go to certain areas and just like take photos of each other, like mountain biking. Like, oh hey dad, like can we try to get this shot of me doing a jump and like turning my handlebars, or something like that, or like, oh, I want to get this photo of you like in this corner, dad. And I feel like that was probably like, I didn't really connect the dots right now, but that probably helped kind of choose how much I like cameras and stuff. But also with that was GoPros. So the little like yeah, the like cameras that you can put like I'd have like on my helmet or like on like a chest mount or like on my bike to kind of find these new angles and stuff, and take those and edit videos after like, oh, we went to like Mammoth Mountain and I recorded some like runs that we did. I want to take all the good clips and like put them together, put like music to it, and so like that's how I learned editing, was through making like just like little mountain bike video edits. So that's also like kind of like my early camera usage.
That's so freaking rad, man.
Thank you.
Is there a misconception about, photography or filmmaking that like is like,
I already got an answer for you.
I'm going to redo asking this question. What's the biggest misconception about photography and filmmaking by the wider world, in your opinion?
When people say, oh my gosh, your camera's so good. to a photo.
What about that is the biggest misconception to you?
They're taking away all of your the process and work and like thought that goes into taking a photo and relaying to, oh, it's a great photo because of your camera.
Oh, okay, so they're associating your craftsmanship with your tools, not with the person behind it.
Exactly. Yes. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions that people have, that I feel like a lot of like people that are also into cameras can relate to, is that like, there are advantages to certain cameras and their abilities. That's why we have so many different unique kinds of cameras that are purpose built. But when people say like, oh, I really like this photo you took, like you have such a great camera that this camera is able to get these photos. It's like, I could have got this photo with like a $300 camera too. It doesn't have to be like my $4,000 camera, like.
Yeah, I mean, like one of the best examples of this is Ansel Adams. He's a photographer that, came out, he's born in the early 1900s, but he was famous for taking these old black and white photos in like, I think it was like the 50s and 60s. And he was taking these black and white photos that are timeless to this day. And people are like, he's this god. It's like, yeah, he wasn't taking them in the 1800s, early 1900s. He was taking them where there were there were smaller, easier to move cameras that shot in color that were easier to develop. But he was like, nah, son, that ain't what I'm about. And went out and shot it on his own, like in very much his own way. It's like, yeah, he's an all-star because of the work, the dedication, and like, all the stuff that he put into it. It's all about your own kind of personal lens and the way you see things and like are able to then like capture that so everybody else can see it, right?
Totally. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, even if you take a good landscape photo and people are like, oh my gosh, like it's so pretty there. It's like, there's a conscious decision of where to place the camera.
Yeah.
It's not just you go there, you take you take it out, you just click. Okay, cool. I got a perfect photo. It's like, no. And there's editing that happens afterwards and all the different processes to where it's like, I think that's probably, the biggest misconception.
Wait, how does that's one misconception. Another couple,
yes, a misconception.
Yeah,
sorry,
there's no, for sure.
Yeah.
There's a couple others that have since sprung to mind that I'm kind of curious to get your opinion on. One, how much does, and it isn't going to count as your preposterous pee, but if you want to get passionate about it, feel free. How much does Instagram filters bother you, or just like filters in general, like for like taking pictures on your phone or whatever like that? People are able to put filters that would have taken move a decade or two back, so much more craftsmanship and know-how. And also, where does the fact that people don't understand anything about lenses in regards to like taking pictures, and how, like, I went through film school, I barely know about lenses, and the average person, I would hope, just for my own personal benefit, knows considerably even less about lenses. How do those kind of two things irk or not bother you at all as a photographer?
Great question. And thanks for having me. So with the filters, I think that the only filters that I do not like at all are face altering filters. Not in the ones that are supposed to be like, they smooth out your face. They like change your facial structure to where you're no longer who you actually are. And I find with a lot of Instagram, like especially like if you look at like Instagram models or like influencers and stuff like that, they do a lot of that to where they're not showing themselves. They're showing through like a AR or AI filtered lens who they want to be of this like perfect face. Those filters I don't really like. But a lot of people do like just add a random shitty Instagram filter that looks like the photo's deep fried. And I just kind of laugh at those. But even when I first downloaded Instagram 2015 or whatever it was, I throw on some shitty filters. You
don't feel like that takes away from somebody's craft such as yours? Wait, like you don't think that like it kind of evens the field out too much, where somebody who has no idea what they're doing can make it look like they have more of an idea than they do?
No, I'd say that to me, it's like if they want to throw on a teal and orange filter, they can throw it on, and that's kind of their conscious decision. I'm not going to for what I want to make. So they can do theirs, and like it doesn't really bother me. if it does bother me, I just won't look at it. You know, so I don't really get like upset or like mad or anything. I don't think that it like depreciates like my photography or like other photographers or like videographers. There's definitely, I found that there's definitely trends of like what I think of as an actual good photo. People will be like, oh, I don't really like that photo. Or like, or people will be like, oh, this is such a great photo. I'm like, this is such a like blown out image and like so bright and the colors are so like weird that I'm just like, I'm not into it. But like a lot of people are.
Mm-hmm.
To where like, I find that on Instagram specifically, there's a lot of like, I'm going to call them hype beast photographers.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that they all take the same gimmicky photos. Because I'm not really into gimmicky photos. But so like, say, for example, like a person holding, it's a super shallow depth of field, person holding their hand out, and it's like a mirrored orb. And they have all these hard textures and colors and everything going on to it. And it's just like, looks so like Instagram fake.
Okay.
I don't know if that gets across through my explanation, but it doesn't really bother me, you know? Yeah. And then what was the other thing?
No, I think that was kind of both of them. It was, yeah, right?
Because there's Instagram filters, and then you had another thing,
Shit.
but they're slightly different.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Oh, the misunderstanding of lenses, like the fact that
Yes.
nobody knows shit about lenses. Like nobody realizes that your average photographer, for instance, their camera itself is going to be X, and the amount they've spent on lenses is going to be like 4 times X,
Yeah.
5 times X. You know.
At the end of the day, the lenses matter more than the body, because the lens is what the sensor picks up. And so also there's the choice of like focal length and like, you know, how you're doing your focus and everything like that. But yeah, because lenses are actually very expensive, and there's a lot going on in a lens, to where like you can have a pretty cheap camera body, but like a $3,000 lens, and you're gonna get fantastic photos. Well, if you can use them, you know, once you learn how to use them properly. But yeah, so the lenses actually do matter a lot, because even if you have the most expensive like camera body, but like a really shitty lens, you're not really gonna get the best photos. So yeah, no, lenses do actually matter quite a lot. Yeah.
Does that like, is that one of those things? I guess, does that bother you that so many people make that misconception, or is that a misconception you run into a lot because of your line of work, where people like think that your cameras are expensive? And you're like, well, it is, and also not so much.
Yeah, I mostly just don't really care about a lot of people's opinions. Not in like a mean way, but more not in like a mean way, but more in like a. I mean, you can have your opinions, like it's cool, but like if you want your opinion to affect me, I'm hopefully not. Hopefully, it's not going to. But yeah, I think kind of what you're getting at is how, like, to some people, the bigger the camera, the more professional you look. When it's like cameras are actually getting smaller, and they're getting way better than a big body like camera from 20 years ago. And I think that's one of the things where like if you show up and you have a smaller camera, they'll be like, "Oh, you don't look professional."
Yeah, you need that big Hummer of a camera.
Yeah, exactly. Like, "Oh no, we want you to have a Canon freaking R3 from 10 years ago because it's huge." You know, and it's like, "No, actually my sensor now can get much better images," you know? So I think that is a misconception, is that like it's almost like they say like size don't matter. Apparently, according to a lot of people, size does matter if the camera's too small, you know? And they're like, "Oh no, we want a big camera, dude. We want big lens energy," you know?
That big lens energy.
We want big lens energy.
There's some guy out there named Lens who's just winking.
Shout out Lens.
All right, moving on from the beautiful to the obnoxious. Joshua, what is your preposterous peeve?
I do not like people putting their feet on the dashboard.
Just because it's going to get dirty, or?
2 reasons. It's incredibly unsafe. And second reason, yes, it's dirty, dude. I don't like feet. Sorry.
So you're not, if Quentin Tarantino calls and wants you to be his cameraman, you're not interested?
Dude, listen, I saw once upon a time, I was in the movie theaters, and the moment she literally put her goddamn feet on the windshield, I was cringing, dude. I was like, how the hell is this getting across? Like, why do you have to do this to me? Like, I was just, I didn't hear a single word that was said in that scene because I was so goddamn grossed out by the feet. She was walking on the ground, dude. No shoes, no socks. I love shoes, though, because they cover people's feet.
Sorry, Quentin. Joshua seems to be busy and uninterested in your next project. We'll have to find you another DP.
No, I'll do it, dude. I'll shoot all the feet you need, man. Put a honey on him or whatever you want to do. I don't care. But yeah, that's definitely one of my preposterous peeves. Like, I don't know. It just kind of annoys me.
Wait, when did you start to notice that this was like a troublesome subject for you? Were you driving along and did you get like chided for this where it kind of like, got stuck in your brain, or were you driving and somebody put, some hot date put their feet on the dash of your car? Like, how did this spring into life?
I think it came from like going on road trips and the cars that you drive past. Because like when I was younger, like none of us put our feet on the dash or anything like that. We weren't about that life. But you drive past, you see these people with their feet on the dash. I've seen a person with their foot outside of the window on the freaking side mirror, blocking the sight from the driver completely. And it was just always just like, I think also because I don't like feet. It was just gross to me and just unsanitary. And then I did have a person that I used to be in a relationship one time put her feet on the dashboard. And I was
and
like,
then the relationship was over.
It was over, dude. Out. Get out of my No, I'm kidding. I'm not that. I'm nice, I swear. But I was just like, no, I can't. Like, can you please take your feet off the dashboard? Plus, also, it's incredibly unsafe. You're gonna have your knees go into your brain if you get in a car crash. Like, don't do it, dude. Be safe. You don't need to put your feet up.
All right. Well, this has gotten a little too less preposterous, so I think we're gonna have to go to our second ad break here. But don't go anywhere, because when we get back, Josh is going to enter the lightning round. See you guys in a bit. Have you ran out of new stuff to do, rendering your life wholly unsatisfying? Do you have too much time on hand and have no idea what to do with it? Or are you just plain over this existence and wish for a plane with more intrigue? Might I introduce you to Addiction? Addiction deals with all these problems and more. Had to meet your significant other's parents and would rather not? Addiction. Had to go to work for the third day in a row? Addiction. Rent? Why not? Addiction. Addiction cannot be held responsible for your choice of choosing to imbibe in addiction. Any and all life-destroying fallout as a result of addiction cannot be legally pinned on addiction. But you're more than welcome to try. And we are back. Joshua, are you ready to enter lightning round?
The lightning round?
I am very ready.
All right, put however much time it takes to bake this cookie on the clock. Josh, is there a God?
No.
Shakira's voice in Danny DeVito's body, or Danny DeVito's voice in Shakira's body?
Danny DeVito's voice in Shakira's body.
Have you ever paid more for a meal than you made in a week?
No.
You're having the best day of your life. What happens next? Another amazing thing or something terrible?
Another amazing thing.
Would you rather give up cheese or naps?
Cheese. Wait, no, naps. I love cheese.
Are hot dogs sandwiches?
Yes.
No one's looking. Do you put the cart back or leave it in the parking lot?
I put it back with pride.
If you had the power to see the future but couldn't change it, would you use it?
No.
Pineapple on pizza or fist fight?
Pineapple, dude, all the way.
Kill the spider or get an adult?
Can I leave the spider? Kill the spider.
Is there a price for you to give up your passion forever?
No.
Kanye.
Yes.
Which one of your parents settled?
I don't know. I don't have an answer to that one, dude.
Which do you max out first? Intelligence, charisma, or strength?
Strength.
Did you ever cheat on a test in school?
Not that I remember.
Are we alone in the universe?
No.
Would you rather have your inner monologue sound like Gilbert Gottfried or Fran Drescher?
Fran Drescher.
Are Cheez-Its addicting?
No.
Lions, tigers, or bears?
Bears.
Make the food or do the dishes?
Make the food.
Is Marvel overrated?
Yes.
Do you call it a baritone or a euphonium?
Baritone.
Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
One horse-sized duck because it looks cute.
Could you eat 37 of your favorite food for $5,000 in a 1-hour time limit?
Sure.
Which food would it be?
I don't have a favorite food. That's why I said sure.
Would 16-year-old you be proud of where you are today?
Hell yeah.
Do you create your own thoughts or do you just listen to them?
Create?
Congratulations, you've survived.
The lightning round.
Oh, thank God.
What lightning round question would you like to ask me and in turn be asked of future guests?
If you could choose one for the rest of your life, either rice or pasta.
Rice.
It's a good choice.
Fried
hard
rice.
choice.
Rice goes in burritos. Rice goes in Thai food. Also, I'm lazy and it's way easier to make rice. All right, man. Thank you so much for being on the show. Anything you want to plug, recommend, places people can find you or your content?
Thank you for having me too. I don't have anything to plug right now, but if you want to follow me or see just kind of random shit that I create, I have an Instagram. That's the only thing I have. You can follow me at Joshua Gibbons. That's 2 B's, like the ape. Exactly. Yeah. It's a really dope primate, dude. They got really, really long ass arms. They're really cute. Look them up. They're great. Yeah. No, thank you for having me. I actually had a lot of fun. Just, bullshitting with you, talking about passions, being slightly vulnerable.
Cool. Well, thanks, Josh, for being my guest today. And special thanks to my editor, Richard Ashford, and my composer. Hey, it's Joshua Gibbons.
Oh, yeah, I did it.
And especially thank you. Yes, you listening at home or wherever you found time to appreciate this. Time is a precious commodity we have, and I appreciate you spending yours with us. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, like, or just share it with a friend. Every little bit helps. Or if you already have and are out of episodes to listen to, don't worry. We put out a new episode every Monday at midnight on SoundCloud, YouTube, and Spotify at Passionate People and Prosperous Peeps Podcast. And a special thanks are due to our very first Patreon patron, Sabella Yellow. And if you would like to join said illustrious ranks and have your name read aloud, just head on over to patreon.com/Passionate People and Prosperous Peeps Podcast. And remember, folks, cookies are sweet. My room is neat. Mom, if I set the table, can I have double dessert? Ciao.